You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
What's up, everybody? It's To Skim It. But because I don't like the other one Jay made, we decided to do a cold open today. Jen had good books to review. I had not good books to review. And we'll tell you all about that in 50 seconds. There we go.
We're here. Huzzah.
I would ask you to define your terms.
Here?
And we're.
I'm real glad.
You may be. I'm certainly not.
I'm really glad to have power.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're here. I'm not really.
Thanks, everybody, for allowing me to be missing last week. We had our city was pretty much without power universally. So,
if you want to know what happened, watch the video of Mattress Mac yelling at the governor of Texas yesterday.
Yeah,
it's on YouTube. It's pretty great.
Matt, don't make Mattress Mac mad because he will.
No,
go.
Mattress Mac will just buy you because he has that kind of money because he's a gambling magnate.
You know what I think is so cool is there's really cool pictures out there of him. What is he doing now? Of him allowing first responders to sleep in his giant mega store.
Just anybody who needed a place to stay could stay there, and he would feed them.
Well, the picture I was talking about specifically was like it looks like maybe a National Guardsman. He's laying on one of the beds. He's propped up. He's got his laptop in his lap, and he is asleep. So they must be comfy beds. Go buy one from Mattress Mac.
Right. And then whatever he bet the opposite.
That's true. He must have really good betting insurance.
Yeah. So we had to read books this week. And I say had to because I would have rather run my head straight into a wall than read some of these books.
That's right, I'll make up for it.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
Okay. Oh, cool. This is the book I read last, so it's probably still in my head. Okay, so we're deep into the Blood Hunt. I think we only have one more of the main series books to go. But just so if any of you guys are like sitting on the sidelines thinking, oh, I'll just wait it out until Blood Hunt's over, I'm not into it. Just know it has ongoing implications for Marvel. So it's not like it's going to be an event that doesn't affect anything. It affects some characters pretty deeply. This one's really cool. It has, now I'm going to make sure I have them right. There's Gabby and Laura, right? Gabby has been kidnapped, and they find out that the vampires themselves are trying to take, in this case, mutants to see if they ingest their blood, if the vampires could also gain their powers. So just think about what Gabby's might be.
I think the correct answer is only Rogue can do that.
Only Rogue can do that.
I think if your power is a mutant, is the ability to steal other people's powers, and you steal a zombie vampire powers, I think you become a mutant zombie vampire. So Rogue, basically.
That'd be kind of cool.
No, I haven't given this a lot of thought in the past.
I bet you might have thought a lot about it. There are a bunch of other tie-ins to Blood Hunt this week. I didn't get to all of them, but I'm really enjoying it. And just as an encouragement, you don't have to read all of them to enjoy this event, but it is pretty fun. Like the whole fun last week was great.
Jen, if I tell you I've been thinking about this one since February when CB showed me the cover and he wasn't supposed to, would that shock you at all?
Specifically?
Yeah. He showed me every cover they had for Blood Hunt way back then, and then found out later from legal he was not allowed.
Well,
so I've been
you're
like,
really good at NDAing. Good job.
But yeah, I've been thinking about this one for a while. I'm very excited to read it tomorrow.
This was great.
Oh, also, John, maybe try to spell castle without any vowels and see how that works. So you could be the Punisher version of Keanu Reeves. And what up, K-pop and Barlord and everybody who's over on Instagram as well. I really, really, really wanted to like Biker Mice from Mars. Now I remember why it didn't last more than a couple of seasons to begin with. It is a really thin concept. And I will say this. I made a post on social media that's gotten kind of a lot of response. This PDF was 60 pages and 20 of them were covers. It took me 10 minutes to find the story fighting my way through this PDF. Once I found the story, is there any way for me to like it after having to do all of that work to get to it? So you set yourself up to fail. That said, if you loved Biker Mice from Mars when it originally came out, home run and a half. If you, like me, thought, gee whiz, this is way less good than Ninja Turtles, then you're going to feel the same way about that. Unfortunately, that is kind of the response that this book elicits. I really want to like it, but it's a nostalgia grab that doesn't grab any nostalgia. They try. If you're a big fan of the original Biker Mice from Mars, grab it. If you're like me and just buy it because it's animals doing people things, Man's Best came out this week, I would try that.
Cool. All right, Kyle, check your sound. It sounds like...
Yeah, I think my fan is blowing into my microphone.
Oh.
So I adjusted my fan.
Okay, well, that might be it. Still have to have the fan, though. It's important.
Yeah, oh, well, the air conditioning in the office kicks off at 7 o'clock, so that it's not all loud while I'm on the air. But it's also 80 million % humidity and 95 degrees. So I need the fan.
I feel not bad for you. It's 105 today here.
Sure, I understand that. But, like, I'm also underground.
That's true.
So
all I can see is just you as a little gopher. I'm underground. Okay. Ultimate X-Men. We're up to number 5 for this awesome Peach Momoko series. I know you guys probably figured this out by now, but she's using a lot of Japanese lore to draw upon for the characters, their backgrounds, and it is also done something really cool in the very back of the books. Has like this one's got 3 different terms that are pretty kind of like embroiled in mysticism that'll help you understand some of the things that happen in the book. They actually give themselves a name as a team, even though they're all like high schoolers, I think. The art continues to be gorgeous. The characters are really dark. They're still trying to figure out the one character is kind of like dark, stringy monster ghost. Whether that is, in fact, its own individual or if it's some kind of part of her psyche or is it just a ghost? We don't know yet. But it's kind of cool because it's so tied with a culture that it feels very different and fresh from what we've gotten before. This is not kind of like trodden over area. And I really, for a long time, thought they were going to eventually wrap it back around and be like, oh, this character has this power and equates to this character in the X universe. I don't think that's happened. That's kind of neat. All brand new stuff. Everybody's talking. Hey, Triple B, hey, Lorena.
I've really been liking this book so far, but we're getting to the point where I have to stop reviewing it. It's hard to review books that your friends are making, especially when they have an issue that lets you down, which this one did. This story is really cool. The kind of Island of Dr. Moreau, beast folk kind of thing is super fun. The amount of werewolves is super cool. But this issue felt disjointed. It felt like an episode of a drama where they have to finish up one story, but that's not a whole episode, so they start another one, but they don't get far enough into that to drag you through. If that makes any sense, this feels like it's 2 half books and not a whole book, or to equate it to Billy Joel, it's scenes from an Italian restaurant where it's 3 different things just all jammed into one because they're similar chords. Gavin Smith's work on this is beautiful, and Rich's writing is great. But again, it feels like issue 2 should have been more pages, and issue 4 should have been more pages and been called issue 3. Unfortunately, this just felt a little discombobulated. Still beautiful, and if you've been enjoying it, keep reading, because it's certainly not a letdown. It just wasn't as good as issue 2 or 1.
All right. I'm certain that your LCS will have copies of this for you tomorrow. Marvel was really nice and made sure they had extra copies. That usually they do that for issues they feel very strongly about. In this issue, Phoenix shows up to try to help Nova, who has, I don't know how it floats there, but there is a prison in space for super, super bad guys that's near a black hole. And something has happened in which it's going to be sucked into the black hole. Nova doesn't want to allow that to happen because he still feels like creatures should not die, even if it's more convenient, honestly. So Phoenix really flexes some muscles in this, like overcoming the death of a son. And I'm talking about not like your child, but like the death of a son. Or taking on the power of a black hole, just seem like such intense uses of the power to let you understand that there's nothing really that she can't do as long as she's got the Phoenix. So, and there's some lovey-dovey stuff with her and Scott. Ugh.
If you're looking for animals doing people things, this is the animals doing people thing books this week that I would definitely buy. I struggled with this one a little bit. Yes, you, Scott.
You.
100%. Around here, we feel like Scott and Jean are the most toxic couple ever, including some reality TV show couples. Anyway, I struggled with this book at first because their PDF was formatted wrong, which seems out of character for Boom Studios. But once I got that figured out and I read it, this book really is starting to come into its own. Issues 4 and 5. I wasn't real high issues 1 and 2. I skipped issue 3 for the show, but then I picked up issue 4 at my LCS and I read issue 5 today. And it really feels like the story that Pornsak Bichette Show wanted to tell, he's getting to now. Like, it was like, hey, we have to do all of this sort of exposition and it's going to take forever. And then 4 and 5 really have picked up. I'm sad that this is a mini series that's ending soon because it feels like it's just getting its legs. But this book was, I would say, the best book of the week for me. And it was good. It wasn't, world shattering like the 2 books I had last week that I thought were phenomenal. But it was good.
I love that we just had a comment. I think it's probably Jay that put it up there after our comment about the most toxic couple. Says that Harley and Joker have entered the chat.
No, Harley and Joker are not nearly as problematic as Jean and Scott. They gaslight each other and they have the mutant powers to do it. That is problematic. Harley and Joker are just on drugs. Big green vats of drugs.
Green vats of drugs. All right, Namor is kind of interesting. I always felt like Namor as a character was built specifically for us to not like them very much because they're really full of themselves, right? So in this book, he's been captured by somebody and is imprisoned with a bunch of other, I don't know who these other characters are that he's in prison with, but it's clear that he has been humbled and brought low. They've denied him water, and I didn't know that for his people, like if they're not in water or have access to water, that it will kill them, except for he, because he's half human, can withstand it longer. But it also looks like maybe the water gives him some abilities, more mixed power or whatever. So this book doesn't do anything for making me like him anymore because he makes all kinds of really interesting choices. But it feels like the beginning of something very interesting for the development of like him as a character going forward. As we find out in this book that because he is no longer sitting on the throne, the unintended consequences of him, I guess he abdicated. I did not know this part, but that instead of someone else just grabbing the throne, it appears that something else terrible has happened, which means that everybody is split. So I don't know if this means he's going to have to go back or we're just going to see this big division play out. So he still is sexy Namor, but he's kind of gross in this one because he's covered in whatever. Skid row drunk. Maybe. Who knows?
Kind of true. So, do you guys remember the movie Demolition Man? And how everybody's like super uptight and like, you have been fined 2 credits for cursing, John Spartan. You know, that guy. That's the world that this book takes place in. You have people who are good, and then you have people who aren't. And the people who aren't literally turn into monsters. They literally grow fangs or hooves or horns or scales whenever they break a rule. And our main character is one of the good people, and his father is one of the good people, and his mother is one of the good people. And he has to, he's good his whole life, and he gets a job basically deciding if the bad people get kicked out of the city or not. And in the first issue, his best friend comes across his desk, and he should kick them out of town. But he doesn't. The second issue, which is this issue, he starts dealing with the fallout from that. The thing of it is that I think sometimes these monsters get real monstery and not so much just like a dude with horns. I think the bad of the bad turn into actual giant monsters. And I'm waiting for actual giant monsters. This book is interesting because I want to get to the actual giant monsters. And it's taking a while. But also there's a big like M. Night Shyamalan twist at the end that like the president of the good guys is involved in. And it makes me very interesting to see where this book goes from here. Because in order to do what this guy our main character technically should do, he is going to become more of a monster because he'll be breaking the rules. But what happens when breaking the rules is what's best for all of the people around you. So,
is the change permanent?
It's implied that it is, but then like he says to his best friend, you have to go to like a redemption center to get like points taken off of your file. It's like when you get too many traffic tickets and you have to go to traffic school. Like, so I don't know if the changes go back or if it just changes the paperwork. So we'll have to wait and see. John, would you like Lawful? It doesn't so far seem like an action book. It's just a lot of like sort of psychological torture. And it's kind of a slow burn. But it has the makings to be something that could be really cool. So I don't know, John, knowing what you like, if it's for you, but I could definitely see if it does turn into a big action with monsters thing, it being having some pretty wide appeal.
Okay. So I guess I could have missed a thing or two in the main Daredevil series where she's been Daredevil for a while, because there's a person, a younger woman that she seems to be mentoring in this book. So I apologize if that's someone that everybody knows already. And I'm like, I don't know who this is. But it's clear that the younger lady wants to be taken seriously, but also doesn't listen very well to her mentor. So may, go outside and try her hand at some crazy stuff and get, taken. So this is mostly about her trying to go figure out what happened to her. And as clearly implied by the cover, there's a Crossbones encounter. And I will tell you, if you like fights on trains, this might be your book.
Okay. There was a show on television not that long ago with Vicki Lawrence and David Alan Grier and Leslie Jordan and I forget the name of the show, but it basically was set in like a retirement community. And these three comedians were like the class clowns of the retirement community. This is the weirdest retirement community ever. You have space aliens and ghosts and superheroes and regular people living in this retirement community where they have like on-site medical and food and all this kind of stuff. And this book starts with a space alien who is unable to go to the bathroom. And our main character is his nurse, who's like, well, the cool kids, thank you. Well, if you can't, let's get you in the pool and get you soaking and see if that doesn't get things moving. Like, it is such a strange start to a book, only to have legally not Shazam show up and start shooting people with his laser eyes. Like, and they have to sedate him and get him checked in to like skilled nursing because, he's having a breakdown. And like the walls are made of aliens.
What?
Yeah, or there's an alien living in the walls. Like,
kind of sounds dope.
Yeah. And our main character like doesn't remember anything about her life before she came to work at Paranoid Gert or at this nursing home. Like, just complete blank. And other people know who she is, but she can't figure it out, so she's got amnesia. And like, it's just, there's so many different storylines happening. And then there's these dude in like detective chimp masks who are like the Medicis or whatever, who at the end of the book are like trying to buy the nursing home as like a resort. And it's just like, I want to like this book. It's Gerard Way. I want to like this book, but there's too much going on. Pick a couple of things and just do those, and then introduce a couple later. It's too much. Like, And that's the problem. Is this book could have been great, but there's no one story. It's too many stories in one book. So, like this gets a middling grade for me. Like, again, it has a lot of potential, but like, I don't know what part of it has potential because there's too many parts. So, I would call this book. It'd be like buying a Lego set, uh, and opening the boxes and parts of the Legos are put together, but then there's just a bunch of other Legos strewn about and no directions.
UJB's got a right answer to this. Sounds like it's operating on dream logic.
And if that's what it turns out to be, like this is like Saint Elsewhere, that would make more sense to me because it's unhinged.
Oh, Witchblade! I realized that there's probably an entire new generation that wasn't around when the original Witchblade appeared. For everybody that was around when it came out, they have not taken the Witchblade and given it to someone else. It's still Sarah. And your favorite characters are still involved. Jeremy Irons and he who will be the darkness. You'll be very happy. So this is a pretty straightforward telling of the origin story for people that haven't seen it before. I actually didn't read the original one, but since 1995 when it came out, 1996. We're so old. Oh my gosh. But it's interesting. The original costume in the other books was like, I think, more silver. And the art for this, it looks way more gold, which is kind of cool. I like the way that they show that the amulet or whatever gives her armor gets to her. It's clear that it has one person in mind and one person only, but it doesn't mind using other people to get to where it wants to go. So it's really great. The art's great. It's never going to be Turner, but they did a really good job of honoring him.
Yeah, I have a message for everyone working on Witchblade. If your name isn't Michael Turner, stop trying to draw Fathom. Like, Mark Silvestri did a great job of drawing Witchblade for you. Just mimic him. Stop trying to draw Fathom. You can't do it. End of rant. All right, the Rocketeer breaks free. Boy, oh boy, Stephen Mooney, did you lean into the dialogue a little too heavy to make this an easy read? There is more if and then there's notin' in this book than there's been in a Rocketeer in a long time. Like, this story was super fun. The gang goes to San Francisco because Betty's making a movie. And they find that there's a company in San Francisco using the Rocketeer as their mascot, and they have a parade float, inflatable balloon of him for the Thanksgiving Day parade, which is weird. And he hasn't licensed his likeness. So there's that. And of course there are, the bad Germans and the bad mobsters and runaway streetcars and all of the things you'd expect from Rocketeer in San Francisco. But the big thing I think is that in this story, Peavy finally gets a girlfriend, and it's a friend of the it's a friend of the Rocketeer's mom's, which is weird because old people dating in the 40s, it's just odd. But this has all of the classic makings of a Rocketeer. I would just say this: read it slow. because again, it gets a little heavy on the dialect in places. And if you don't read it slow, you'll be 2 pages later going, wait, what just happened? Hold on, I gotta go back. So take your time and enjoy it.
I'll share with you guys as you're talking a lot about Witchblade and Fathom in the talk there. I wanted to tell you that for a long time I had this really nice lady that came and taught woodworking in my shop as like a homeschool class or an after school class. And she had an assistant because the teacher was very old. She was teaching somebody else to kind of like learn the craft. And I got to know her pretty well, and she was probably 20s. But I found out that she was the eye model that Mike used when he was alive for Fathom. That they had a lot of back and forth, and she had a bunch of copies of the books because he would send her all of his comp copies. So it was really weird to learn that and then talk to her all the time and then not stare at her eyes all the time. Because they were definitely her eyes. All right. Sorry about that. Redcoat continues to be awesome. Okay, so you know that there is a weird society that has been trying to capture our main character here in order to, they're trying to end his life and I think maybe try to take the powers that were intended for instead. Who did he take them from? I think it was Franklin. Like he accidentally ends up with the powers that were supposed to be part of this secret society. Think kind of like, Illuminati. So they've captured him at the end of last book, and now you see what they're trying to do with him. That they've given him some kind of wound, which they know won't kill him, but if they do it once a day for 3 days, they believe then they'll be able to actually kill him and stuff. You're my hero.
Really sad
Copy.
back here.
And then if you read last issue, you also know that he has kind of like connected with a very, very young Einstein, who's that kid that's up there. And he's trying to learn how to trust Einstein's ideas, that they need to get this, whatever the society's secret book of spells is, in order to, prevent the end of the destruction of America. So if you want to go everywhere this week and be like America, then Redcoat is a very pro early establishment of America book.
I was never a Powerpuff Girls kid. That was certainly of my era. However, this reads like the Powerpuff Girls when they were first introduced, like on Cartoon Network. This reads like that era of Johnny Bravo and Powerpuff Girls and some of those shows. So this is a really good representation of Powerpuff Girls. It really has all of the sort of slapsticky, goofy humor that the original series had. If the Powerpuff Girls had been my jam, this would be great. But unfortunately, it's just a fandom that missed me. And that I became more aware of just as it became pop culture centric. So, like I said, this is a really good representation. Kelly Thompson did a great job. It looks right. Like everything about this screams this is the Powerpuff Girls. And so if you can read it with Ashley Eckstein's voice in your head, big win. If you can't, maybe you're going to struggle a little bit. But this was super fun.
Okay, I see Mojo Jojo there, but did we get Robo Jojo?
I don't remember seeing Mojo Jojo.
Oh, well, he's on the cover. And if he's not in the book, it's a lie.
Talk to Nick. I've been saying that since Thundercats 1 came out and they put Snarf on the cover.
I know. It's not right not to have Snarf in there.
The cover's a lie, man.
I would have watched a Megan Fox Fathom movie. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, or the Tia Carrera. Yeah. so many movies that could have happened in the 90s that we really needed. Maybe they'll happen eventually.
Hot take. I'm good with them having not made a She movie.
Really?
Yeah, just because of the era at when that would have come out at my age, having read She at the age I was at, I wouldn't have been able to see it.
Oh, so now you can see it. So now if it happens.
Right. Snarf was not an issue 1, even though it was predominantly displayed on the cover, Preston.
All right, we're on plastic. Number 2. This is the second series for plastic. You don't need to have read the first series to enjoy this one at all. This one delves more into the main character Edwin's past as a young man. It does still show stuff he's doing now. Just know he's like a super crazy serial killer who appears to kill you for whatever reasons he has in his head. But this one delves more into like how and why did he form this real deep connection with Virginia, which is his current sex doll wife, who he will kill you if you look at her wrong. And if you kidnap her, that's what happened in the last big series. Someone kidnapped her, and then he killed everybody that ever looked at her. So this one's kind of cool. It gets into what happens with his mom, and her collecting of dolls, him being a little bit creeped out as a kid. You get to see how his inner workings of his brain happened way back then. So if you like really dark stuff, plastic is for you. There's nothing cutesy about this book at all. So if you're a horror dude, you should grab this up.
Okay.
Ooh, mugshots.
I'm trying to remember what I read. I'm not like Miss Jen where I can just turn around and pull it off the shelf and remind myself. So I'm having to remember. But this is a mob story, essentially. Our main family is pretty well connected. And in the first issue, the daughter gets kidnapped. In this issue, the dad and the uncle and some friends of theirs go out for revenge, only get caught by the cops, who are also mobbed up, and the cops are involved. There's a weird middle section here that feels like it should come with a trigger warning for people who have been near to or victim of human trafficking, which was a little bit tough to read, even though I'm not generally triggered by that type of content, just because it was of the way it was written. It was written almost too methodically, almost too business-like, that it's like, ooh, this is a little cold. It would be one thing if it was written like less like a car deal and more like do you have the product? Yeah, I've got, kind of that kind of thing. It was, okay, I have 100. Can you get me 100 more? Like, too much like a car deal for me, and that was a problem. The art in this continues to just impress the hell out of me. Being a, it has that same art style as Blue Book, or some of these other where it's blue, black, and white on most pages, and then in pages with violence, it's orange, black, and white. So it's really in this sort of almost monochromatic colorscape that really does add a lot to the storytelling. The one big knock I have, other than the trigger warning on this book, is that at some points the dialogue goes too fast and you can't remember who's who, because when everybody's the same color, like when they all kind of look the same because of just the art style, it's hard to tell, wait, is that a good guy or a bad guy? It would be cool if the bad guys always had a red tone or an orange tone and the good guys always had a blue tone. But I'm beginning to think that it's done that way because there are no good guys and there are no bad guys. It's just different shades of bad. And so, yeah, it kind of has that. It has that face blindness thing going for it. That it's a little troubling, but it's not bad.
Ooh, okay. For everybody that has not jumped into Absolute Power, it's not too late. Absolute Power is a storyline that's been drawn from 3 different storylines. One is everything that's been happening in Wonder Woman, where she's kind of had to withdraw from public because they've been hunting down Amazons because one of the Amazons created a problem, which, given the new information that I have, makes me believe that that one Amazon was put up to what they were doing by Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller has also been manipulating the fail-safe extra Batman and has taken it over, and also has taken the Queen Brainiac from the House of Brainiac storyline, which just finished up. So Amanda Waller is using all of her resources to try to do away with all the superheroes, which is interesting because she's been manipulating it for so long. She must have a plan that means that it's no longer necessary for them. So in this one, she's gathered with a bunch of other superheroes and kind of gotten themselves barricaded in, or like basically they're playing cards with each other. It's like one of those card games I know I've played before, but I can't remember what it is. When you're like, say that you're playing a card down, but it might not be the card you're playing. It is interesting when you have superheroes playing. And then one of the Amazo, I'm going to say it that way, could be Amazo, and the Amazo shows up. And Detective Chimp is one of the people that's at this card game, is trying to figure out what this robot being is trying to say, because he's speaking in weird dialogue that has nothing to do with what's going on as he fights the different heroes. But I have a feeling it has everything to do with what's going on. So you get to see him directly overpower some really highly powered superheroes. This one, it takes place at the same time as Absolute Power 1. And if you read this, it would help if you read it with the tie-in that happened last week and the one that's happening this week. I guess they all go together, but I didn't read those other ones, so I can tell you it's fine just to read by itself. It's been really good. And Wonder Woman is being currently written by Tom King, so even if you have never wanted to read Wonder Woman, you might give it a try, because Tom has proven himself in my book to be worthy of a read, even if it's not a character you love. There you go. John's saying it right. Oh, this is me too. Dark Knights of Steel All Winter is one of the new Elseworlds books just dropping. You don't need to have read Dark Knights of Steel to enjoy this, except for to know that all the characters from your normal Bat universe are now to put them in a totally different time period. And this is going to be the time period of like Vikings. And this one focuses in on, maybe you can tell there that it's Deadshot. Yeah, is that right? Is that a right character? Deathstroke's not the right one, right? Maybe it's Deathstroke.
Well, it kind of looks like Deathstroke because half of his face is orange.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe it's Deathstroke. Sorry. Please forgive me.
I don't know. I'm not reading Dark Knights of Steel.
Yeah, I'm new to a lot of DC characters because they just now started been writing things that I like. So some of these I'm not real sure about. This is really great. It's a journey in which he has been basically conscripted or being paid to help someone else in the DC universe to win wars. Now imagine there's no thought that these are just like they've jumped back in time or doing battle in those times. It's as if they were born in those times, and this is the way it was always. Okay, so there's no like other shoe gonna drop. You find out that this character is pining for who he assumes is still his woman, but later on, when he sees her, it doesn't seem that she feels the same way. But he's also willing to put himself in the line to see what's true. So this one's gorgeous. The art is so amazing. Oh no, sorry, Kyle.
We're good.
And right when you have to cough.
Well, we're good because that was the last book.
Woohoo! Sorry, I read too many.
No, you're good because I didn't read as many as I had hoped. There were some other books that I was very excited came out this week that I was able to get access to the PDFs for, including one from Mad Cave. So check those out as you will when you hit your local comic shop. Next week, I will be back. I'm telling Jay now because Dick Tracy #3 comes out and I want to read it. But also because I was able to get some review copies directly from the author Dean Hapespiel of his creator-owned stuff that's coming out in the next few weeks. And I will be reading and reviewing those this week for y'all. So next week might be a little different. Maybe I will read too many and Miss Jen will read less. Or probably not.
This PDFs of all the Battle Quest books. So as those come out, we'll be getting to do those too.
Yeah. So like maybe next week will be opposite. I doubt it because Miss Jen always has a million books she wants to read.
It'll just let me flex.
Right. Maybe next week we have to go long. Which we can't, but you know what I mean. So we will see you guys. Make sure you visit your local comic shop. If you don't know where there's a local comic shop nearby to you, visit comicshoplocator.com and find a comic shop in your area. In the meantime, coming up next, Mint Hunter is back after having all the wisdom removed from his mouth and getting off of the drugs that he was scared to be on the air with last week, which is fair. When I had my wisdom removed from my mouth, I watched a show on MTV all day that actually never existed because that's how high I was. And then after that, Honest Henri from Chicago is going to be on, but he is not doing a sales show tonight. He launched his Kickstarter or is launching his Kickstarter for Warlion #2 tonight during his show at 10 o'clock here on The Experience. So he will be kicking it with other creators. Yes, there's Marks. That's one of his other great books.
I just got these today.
If you bother him about it, he may sell you some on the show tonight.
Yeah.
But tonight is a Creator Hangout where he launches his Kickstarter. So tune in tonight at 10. Tomorrow, Rex will be back for Comic Collectibles, followed by Triple T with Chuck, who I think is having Brian Rodman on, who's in the last days of his Kickstarter for
Memoirs of the Angel, the Great Pilgrim.
Thank you.
That's a long name.
Right. I had memoirs, but I couldn't remember the rest of the words. Memoirs of an Angel, the Great Pilgrim. And then we will have 360 Comics tomorrow night. Dan is off on Thursday, but be watching early in the day for a stream from Dan over on the Dynamite page, where Dan is launching the Kickstarter for Karma Volume 2.
Ooh.
Yeah. So tune in for that and all of our other shows, including What's in the Box on Thursday. So we will see everybody next time on Minute to Skim It. For Miss Jen, I've been producer Kyle. Later.